What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Promethean Tides. I'm General, and as always, I'm joined by Breaker. What's going on, Breaker?
The mushrooms are sprouting. You need to get underground.
Okay, all right. Well, let's all be concerned about the mushrooms. So
Just like the mushroom on the screen right now, that type of mushroom, not the biological kind.
see, I instantly thought of the biological chem. Where is my head even at? Yeah, so I guess welcome. See, we've spent some time at the Promethean Tides lab developing some new fangled technology, and look, we have a picture on screen. How fucking cool is that? We truly are in 2022 now. It's the future. Now I wanted to open this up. And say, you know, the thing about Putin is that he's not Stalin. He's Russian towards the finish.
Oh, that was a very droll joke.
You know, when he gets hungry, he's known to be Putin chili on his turkey.
My side.
So, at a construction site, there's this big crane, and it rolls up to Putin, and it says, "Hey, what's up? I'm a bulldozer." Putin considers this for a second, and responds, "Norway, Ukraine."
How do you come up with these things?
So, recently, I finished a marathon, and I was like, "Did you see how far I ran? I rock." And this Chad was like, "Yeah, man."
Truly, these are works of comedic genius.
That involved Iraq, Iran, Yemen, and Chad.
Yeah, explain it some more. That'll make it even funnier, if anything.
That's how comedy works. Now,
well,
finally,
if you're Jerry Lewis, yes.
I was trying to get into China. The guy checking passports thought mine was fake. I was like, "Oh man, then mark it down. The passport is real."
It's right in the name, Israel.
That was Oman, Denmark, and Israel for that one. So, yeah, just
I wonder if is that like a guy pulling out passports and seeing which one will work, or is I think that's the intentionality behind that. I imagine this clandestine spy-like figure, but it's like a comedic spy movie like Austin Powers. So he's got like a briefcase full of different passports, and he's just trying them all to see which one works. And eventually one does work, and they're like, "Oh, go right ahead. That's an Israeli passport. If that works." And they don't even consider. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you know what? That's an open-ended pun, so you can interpret it however you want. Yeah, so we have a number of interesting stories from this week, and we will be going through them. So the first thing that I wanted to go over, just because I thought it was an interesting little bit of news. So as it turns out, Liz Cheney, she was running to be the congressperson for Wyoming. There's only one congressional representative for Wyoming. They get 2 senators and 1 congressperson. So she was running to be that. And as one might imagine, you know, her being the Republican lead of the January 6th committee, she didn't exactly get Trump's endorsement. In fact, it was her competitor, Harriet Hageman. I think it's Hageman. She was the one who got the Trump endorsement. Now, the people in Wyoming are actually extremely big Trump supporters. I don't know what in the hell Liz Cheney thought she was doing, trying to represent the people of Wyoming, but she got just absolutely shat on. I mean, my God, if you look at this uh, Liz Cheney got about 50,000 votes, and Harriet Hedgeman got 113,000 votes. That is such a massive victory to get more than double the amount of votes that your opponent got. That Liz Cheney lost bigly.
Yeah, this should be a day that lives in infamy alongside the day that John McCain's brain tumor spared us all of even worse fates. Like, the voters of Wyoming, along with John McCain's brain tumor, should be celebrated as national heroes.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Now, just below this, we can also see the results of the Democratic primary. Now, to be fair, Liz Cheney did beat out whichever fucking Democrat is running to be the congressperson, but I don't. I mean, so the Democrat got the winning Democrat to be the congressperson got 4,500 votes. So Liz Cheney got 10 times more votes than the winning Democrat, but she got like less than half of the votes of the Trump endorsed person. So I think that what we can see here is that I don't think that Wyoming wants to have a Democrat or a Republican in name only representing them. I think that they I don't know. It just I get this weird feeling like they like Trump.
Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles now, isn't it? Like, Liz Cheney is like one of those quintessential fucking rhino cons that, I'm not sorry to see her go, to be perfectly honest with you. So, if anything could be said good about Trump, if anything is winning bigly, it's like his non-endorsement of her. It's like something Trump didn't do.
Well, so, but here's the good news, Breaker, because she's not gone, okay? She's considering running for president to go up against Trump and challenge the naughty orange man.
Yeah, somehow I don't think that's going to end very well.
It probably won't, but god damn it, I want to see it. So she says, this primary election is over, but now the real work begins. She said in her concession speech Tuesday night. And yeah, so she's thinking about running for president in 2024. So that'll be interesting if she does that, I guess.
I'm just glad that this upcoming presidential election is going to be one of the funniest ever. It's like, this is going to be funnier than 2016 with like, lock her up, you'd be in jail, it's fake news. This is going to be like so much fucking funnier because we're going to get like things like Trump classics like you low energy, you fake, you phony. You can trust me, everybody. You can't trust this guy. Look at him. Like, you're gonna see this, and it's gonna be fucking a marvel to behold of political satirical comedy unfolding on the actual stage with the actual politicians. Now, we've progressed so far in postmodernism that now the politicians are just like living, breathing satirical jokes.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, I have no idea why it is that 50,000 people in Wyoming actually voted for her. Like, who were these people? I don't know of anyone who has really anything good to say about the woman. I mean, what has she done that is noteworthy? I don't think that she actually gives a shit about the people in Wyoming. I think that she's one of the old neoconservatives that are still kind of clutching on to the Republican Party like a barnacle while the sea is headed out. She doesn't have any place in the party anymore, but god damn it, she wants to stay. She wants to stay so much.
Yeah, and like in my opinion, it was also just the the status quo boomer cons of Wyoming. It's like the 50-plussers that were just like really set in their ways. It's just like, I'm going to vote for the devil I know rather than the devil I don't know, or the even more tragic and pathetic form. It's like, I believe that she actually upholds my values more than that new person. Like, I don't like new things. I like consistent things, like regular bowel movements from my Metamucil.
I mean, yeah. So she was also the head of the Republican head of the January 6th committee hearings, which has just been basically a kangaroo court. I haven't even really been paying attention to it because it makes little to no sense. I just, based off of the evidence of what I know, I don't think that Trump actually instigated anyone to try to do a revolution by, I guess, kind of blindly walking into the Congress building. I don't think that they're going to be able to get him on any of that shit. I don't think that he did anything damning. But god damn it, they have to make a big show trial of it anyway. And for some reason, Liz Cheney was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna attach myself to that thing. That's the future of my political career right there. I'm gonna be the person that everyone hates. Democrats will always hate me because I guess I'm quote unquote a conservative, and the people who actually, are conservatives will hate me because I'm not actually a genuine conservative. I'm a rhino. So I don't know what her angle is here. I don't know who she thinks that she's appealing to or who she's trying to represent. I mean, it's some people, I guess, but it's not a lot, and it's a funny thing to see her lose and to see the Cheney dynasty just potentially end right here. I think it's a beautiful thing.
You see, this is where you're wrong, General Chief. Like, you don't understand the true power of the great evil that is Trump. Like, Trump is basically, I've heard this from reliable sources, sources say that he's basically like a Lex Luthor level supervillain that, while he was in the presidential limousine, he literally had like a kung fu Matrix style fight with the Secret Service agents, took control of the wheel, and then spun it around while Initial D's Deja Vu played in the background and drifted back to the White House with an M16 in one hand and a bazooka in the other, while leading a charge of heavily armed insurgents straight into the door of the White House like an Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie. Deja vu. I've seen this place before.
Here's the thing, man. Like, that actually, you know what? If that's true, he just got my vote even more because that sounds badass. And also, I guess the wall just got 10 feet higher. So.
Yeah, immediately after that, he just installed his puppet doppelganger. That's the Trump that we see. And immediately after that, he went back underground with his Warhammer 40K God Emperor armor and his portable nuclear warheads and started blowing up the deep underground military bases like QAnon would have you believe. Like, this is all like reliable, very reliable sources.
No, I remember hearing about that, and I was like, damn, that just sounds like a realistic thing that happened. Wow. Of all the things that happened, that one definitely happened.
Yeah, we truly live in postmodern vaporwave world where Trump is just driving around a freaking Ferrari with God Emperor armor.
Fuck yeah. So
through like Matrix style grids while soothing, strangely calming, weirdly nostalgic, but somehow deeply disturbing music plays in the background. With analog tape distortions and dirty heads.
Yeah, and then because in this metaphor, of course, Trump is the God Emperor, and he has to fight against the demons of chaos. So I think that we've been through this one, but I believe that let's say Joe Biden would be the avatar of Nurgle, I guess, because he's old and decrepit, but goddammit, he doesn't want to die. Let's see. Who would be... I guess Hillary Clinton would be Zinch, right? The master of scheming and planning. For Korn, I think that
John Bolton.
Could be John... Yeah, I was going to say... could be Hillary Clinton, I guess. And Slanesh would be, I guess, all of them, because they all seem to be up to something.
Well, Slanesh is like that new political appointee that Biden put in. It's basically that guy with the weird puppy play fetish that is now in a government position. Yeah,
right. He can be the avatar of Slanesh. Yeah. So
he wants you to know that that's totally not a sexual thing, and don't try to make it sexual, because if you make it sexual, that becomes weird.
Right. No, it's definitely not sexual at all. Don't worry, guys. Like,
it's just puppy play. It's totally platonic, relationship building puppy play with BDSM gear and dog masks. Like, don't worry about it. This isn't sexual in any way, shape, or form.
Nah, it's a fun way to spend a Sunday afternoon with the family, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, totally normal. Like, all families are valid. His identity is valid. Time for more stories. Creepy!
Oh, fucking all right. Unfortunately, and it's so tragic. Liz Cheney, she wasn't able to secure the endorsement of Trump, and then subsequently lost just completely in her bid. Now, here's the thing. She wasn't able to get Trump's endorsement, but some other people were. Here we have Trump's endorsement of Dan Goldman. He Trump posted this to his Truth Social. Trump says lawyer Dan Goldman is running for Congress, New York's 10th. And it is my great honor to strongly endorse him. I do this not because of the fact that he headed up the impeachment committee and lost, but because he was honorable, fair, and highly intelligent. While it was my honor to beat him, and beat him badly, Dan Goldman has a wonderful future ahead. He will be very compassionate and compromising to those within the Republican Party, and will do everything possible to make sure that they have a fair chance at winning against the radical left Democrats who he knows are destroying our country. I would like to thank Dan for fighting so hard for America and for working so tirelessly to stop Trump. He was not easy to beat, but winning against him made me realize just how very talented I am.
Like, he's a terrible person. He tried to beat me, but he lost. He's terrific. He's wonderful. He couldn't beat me. He's lower than me on the totem pole. He's a great guy. He's horrible. He's the avatar of Satan. He was against me every step of the way. But once I beat him, I realized just how wonderful and terrific of a person he was. Believe me.
Right. So Trump comes out. And the absolute brilliant individual he is, he endorses some of the people that tried to impeach him, specifically the Democrats. And then look at this. So this guy Mondaire Jones, I guess he's running against Dan Goldman, and he posts to Twitter. My opponent, Dan Goldman, is endorsed by Donald Trump. Trump says he's backing Goldman because he wants progressives to lose and because Goldman failed to hold him accountable the first time. New York should not send this man to Congress. So it actually worked. The opponents of Dan Goldman are using the impeachment against him. And I guess they're... Like, they know, they must know that this is just Trump, trolling the shit out of the Democrat Party. But I mean, what can they do but say, look, Trump endorsed him. That means you can't vote for him. So it's clever.
Okay, you know what this is? This is literally like fucking Looney Tunes, like postmodern humor in the form of politics. Now it's like when like fucking Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny were fighting over the sign on the tree, whether it said duck season or wabbit season. Duck season, wabbit season, duck season, wabbit season, wabbit season. I said it's duck season.
Yeah, exactly like that. And it's just so because what Trump, I think that what Trump realized is that he didn't like Dan Goldman, for instance, and so he but if he said I don't like Dan Goldman, then the Democrats will go, well then we like Dan Goldman because Trump said he doesn't like him, so now we like him. So as Trump realized, oh shit, all I have to do is endorse the fucker, and then he'll lose. So now the Democrats are they're turning against Dan Goldman because Trump endorsed him. And I mean, look, I'm not going to say that this is 4D chess on Trump's part, but it is. It's chess. I think that this shows that he's still pretty sharp and completely willing to troll people. I mean, God damn it, this man just makes politics entertaining.
If anything, this demonstrates just how unnecessary the deep, big-brained, circumlocutory, Machiavellian shit you would need to do actual 4D chess is so unnecessary in modern Western politics, because literally your opponent is a fucking Looney Tune. Literally, the Democrats are Daffy fucking Duck. You don't need 4D chess. You just need, like, somewhat simplistic wordplay that a child could comprehend and find funny to defeat them.
Yeah, pretty much. So, let's see if I have this up here. Trump also went ahead and he supported Carolyn Maloney. So he said a vote for Carolyn Maloney in New York 12 is a vote for the future. She is a kind and wonderful person who has always said terrific things about me and will support me no matter what I do, just as I supported her very early on. She begged for a check with no quid pro quo, and I gave it to her. In fact, I gave her many. On the other hand, Jerry Nadler is likewise a hard-driving man of the people whose energy and attention to detail is unlike anyone else in Congress. He is high energy, sharp, quick-witted, and bright. You can't go wrong with either. But Carolyn Maloney is the better man. She will lead our country into a very green and prosperous future. Carolyn has my complete and total endorsement. She will never let our conservative movement down. And of course, these are. And Carolyn Maloney responds, "This is laughable, and I reject any endorsement from Donald Trump. Trump doesn't respect women. He instigated the attacks on January 6th and claimed that the 2020 election was a big lie." So I guess she didn't want Trump's endorsement. It's really too bad that she rejected it. You know, he's just trying to be nice, offer a twig out, just, be like, hey, I'm endorsing you. Like, don't you want this? I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to reconcile our disagreements. And she just comes out and says that she doesn't want this endorsement. I think that's quite rude of her personally.
I think this is Trump's way of just like, not to give him too much credit, mind you, but this is kind of like his way of showing just how hopelessly bankrupt and corrupt all of this shit is. And another thing that goes into this is like, she might not want the endorsement, she might openly reject it, but as far as the media is concerned, Trump said a thing. So now the media has to be, it's like, whichever direction that the arrow of Trump has pointed, must now be where evil and racism and degradation of our system and anti-democracy and fascism lies. So wherever his finger points, there must be only evil there. It's like, it's you. It's like, no, I'm one of you. I rejected the endorsements. Like, no, Trump said vote for you. That means you are evil, essentially. You have been corrupted by Orange Man. You must be destroyed.
Yeah, I think this is it's one of the funnier things I've seen Trump do. Just endorse Democrats knowing that it's hurting them and not really. It's it's brilliant, but at the same time, what he's doing it's similar but much smarter than what the Democrats have been doing, right? Because they so what the Democrats have been specifically spending money on, I guess, quote unquote MAGA candidates, candidates who were endorsed by Trump. And propping them up, right? The Democrats have actually been paying for advertisements to bolster the MAGA candidates because they think that, for whatever reason, they believe that the MAGA candidates will be easier to beat in the general election. So they want to bolster them for the primaries. I'm not sure how well that's going to work out for them, but they're playing this game as well. Just they're trying to do it behind the scenes, but they're trying to I guess they're trying to actually spend money to influence the elections of the Republican primaries. And so Trump has decided to come in and do the exact same concept, but completely for free and probably a lot more effectively. And by the way, I think that when it comes to Trump, I mean, his election was actually bolstered by Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton actually spent money trying to prop up Trump because she thought that he would be the easiest Republican to beat, and well, that kind of blew up in her face. I can only imagine that actually a lot of these Trump-endorsed Republican candidates that are being bankrolled by the Democrats for some reason. I think that they're actually going to get a lot more votes than the Democrats anticipate, and yes, I think that the Democrats are actively shooting themselves in the foot on that one. But I think that with the Trump endorsement of these particular Democrats, it's just funny, and he didn't spend a fucking dollar to do it.
I've got a bit more of a nuanced opinion on this that might reach into some tinfoil hat territory. I don't know, you be the judge, but I think in a weird way, the Democrats, at least like the neo-lib, corporatist, oligarchical, plutocrat motherfuckers, for all intents and purposes, they actually, on some level, sincerely want Trump to actually at least run, if not completely win again. Because under the Biden administration, like, whoever is pulling the strings of Alzheimer's howdy doody, the tapioca consuming corpse puppet that is our current president, asterisk, 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 I think they're, in a similar way that Trump did with his first term, they're setting up all their levers, and they're setting up like a lot of levers of power that can be pulled later on and will be relatively difficult to undo, even if Trump entirely wins. Now, of course, he's just going to executive order some things into oblivion and make policy changes and operate things in the good old-fashioned Trump way, as we've seen before. But there'll be enough, like, Burisma-esque, clandestine, deep state stuff happening in the background that they hope will hold long enough until 2028 where they can get one of theirs in again to be able to pull all of those levers. And during the time that Trump is in office, they're just going to ratchet the media back up to full, like, Politburo, destroy Orange Man mode like they did between 2016 and 2020. and that's going to prime all the levers of power and reinforce them even more for 2028 when they run, I don't know, frickin' AOC or whoever they try and run again.
I mean, yeah, it's possible that that's the case. I mean, for whatever reason, it seems as though the American public, they sometimes have a very short memory for what the Democrats have done, right? Like, we're gonna for the 2024 election, I don't see Biden winning. I don't think that that's going to be in the cards.
They're going to run Hillary again, and when Hillary loses again, they're going to say it's like, well, this just proves there's even more misogyny.
Right, of course. But I think that after 2024, my bet is that some Republican is going to win, be it Trump or DeSantis, and then we're going to have 4 years of probably. I mean, there's going to be rebuilding that's going to happen. Because of how badly the economy has been wrecked in just 2 short years with Biden so far. We'll see how bad it gets by 2024. Hopefully the midterm elections can mitigate some of the bleeding. But I would imagine that, things will start to pick up after 2024. 2028 will roll around, and then Americans will have forgotten about how shit the leadership of the Democrats basically always is, and they'll go, yeah, you know what? The Democrats, they make a good argument. They're promising me free shit. I want to vote for them again. And having completely forgotten how terrible the candidate is that's actually promising you free shit, and how destabilizing to the economy it is, and how inflation goes up, and how you lose your home and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens, but I don't know. I'm a bit more optimistic. I think that actually the Democrats seem desperate to me, and I think that this is a wounded and cornered animal that is just lashing out with whatever it can. That's what the Democrats look like to me at this moment.
Yeah, it's like, to the extent that this theoretical plan I've kind of laid out will work or not is also an open question, because definitely the first time they definitely weren't expecting Trump to actually win the first time in 2016. So they were probably getting ready to like continue on the Obama years with Hillary Clinton at the helm and like epic feminist president, first woman in White House. They were going to milk that for all it was worth, because like all the like neoliberal corporatist interests already had all the commercials and TV shows and advertising campaigns already set up as though they were completely sure that Hillary was going to win. And when those all had to play out between 2016 and 2020, it just looked kind of laughably weirdly out of place, because the person that was supposed to be there to reinforce that wasn't. So it just looked like this cruel postmodern joke of them shooting themselves in the foot. So definitely the first time wasn't planned, but I think this time they've kind of regrouped and they have to play a bit more the pragmatic long game, and they actually have to let a Republican of some kind get in there to reshore up this economy so that it doesn't completely fall apart before they get the pods and the bugs ready. Like, they need the pods and the bugs ready, and they need the gun grabs ready, which Biden is trying to do with the IRS shit, like we've talked about and theorized about before. But
they haven't got their cricket mills up to full production yet, so they need a little bit of time before they can initiate that plan. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, they need the gun grabs, and they need the true economic hardship, where they're going to say, it's like, okay, you can either try and pull yourself up by your bootstraps as the Republican motto, or you could take this Faustian bargain after our IRS legion has bankrupted you with audits.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. In fact, I was watching a bit of the Joe Rogan Experience, and Tim Dillon was on, and I thought he had a brilliant idea of what the future might just look like. Depending on what your political affiliations are. This might sound like a really good thing or a really bad thing. So I'm not going to say this future that he's talking about is good or bad, but it is interesting. So I'll just play just a bit of this. I don't know how much of this we can play, but I'll play a bit.
Hopefully it will work.
In a way, and it probably won't be for the best, but like the system will collapse. But I don't know if we'll see it.
Yeah.
But it will collapse. There's no way it doesn't. It will collapse to a degree. And someone will come in.
The collapse is on the horizon, banana.
It doesn't matter anyway. Why do you fuckers need to vote? Here's a coupon for a chicken sandwich, and people go, I like chicken. And then, people just go, fuck it. They don't care.
My pod, my bud.
Netflix. There'll be Domino's.
There will be Netflix. Circus. There will be Netflix. There will be Domino's. Don't worry about it. You don't need to vote. But hey, man.
Yeah.
You got your food. You got your Netflix. What are you worried about?
Just remember, we got a banana.
They'll say, well, you can't drive today because of the climate, and people go, yeah, it's Tuesday. Can't get in my car because of climate. And you'll sit there, and they'll feed you poison, and you'll watch TV. And a few people will riot, but very few, because most people will be pacified by the goodies, which they'll still probably have.
By the goodies, yeah, absolutely.
This is a very bleak prediction of the future.
No, dude, it's the government taking care of you. This is good. I like this.
Oh, no.
And, the leader will come on and tell, they'll be like, hello, everyone. And you'll go, hey, there. And it'll be a celebrity. It'll be someone you know. It'll be someone you're very
President
familiar
Camacho.
With, and they'll say a couple of things and be like, it's not that bad, is it? And they go, no, it's not that bad. And they'll feed you the propaganda.
We've got Brondo.
You won't remember when you were free, and you won't remember. And most people will be fine with that, but me and you will be dead.
Let's go to Costco.
And it won't matter.
Let's go to Costco and get those Costco coffins 10% off for $20.
We'll remember when you could get in a car without a tracking device. We'll remember when you didn't have a fucking tracking device attached to you at all times. We'll remember when you could say what the fuck you want, alienate people, piss them off, and no one really cared, and it didn't matter because you could wake up the next day and say, sorry, I was drunk, and it wasn't on fucking Twitter. People didn't have a record of what you did and what you said and where you were and who you fucked and everything else.
Fucking drunken tweets.
We will remember true freedom. We're one of the last groups of people to actually be free.
Yeah.
And we should all thank God for that, because the hellscape that's about to be created is going to be so bad they won't even know how bad
this
it
is. The last generation.
It won't even feel like they're in prison, because those offices we talked about, people, they get to like them.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, man. This I think he offers just a beautiful future for the world. Look, freedom is scary, okay? It's you don't have anyone taking care of you, Here's the thing. Why is it when it comes to a cat, right? I have 2 cats, right? And essentially, when you own a cat, it's in a state of arrested development. It's perpetually in kittenhood. Adult cats don't meow unless there's a human around, right? Kittens meow, and that's to get the attention of the parents. But that's usually the only time that cats in the wild will meow. When there's a human around, they will meow, right? They're perpetually kittens. Someone is always around to take care of them. They don't have freedom. They can't leave the apartment. And we give them, statistically speaking, mostly some sort of bullshit grain-based kibble with a bit of meat in it. But god damn it,
it's the boogs.
They're comfortable and they're happy. Okay.
Oh God, we got to make sure that they're comfortable. We're basically the bovine supplicants being led into the slaughter chute, like the Eloi and the Morlocks. Like when the siren blares, we all just walk zombie-like toward the shelter. It is all clear.
Look, man, all I'm saying is that if it's good enough for my house cat, why can't it be good enough for humans?
Bonobo protocol is domestication.
French vanilla, it's your favorite.
Speaking of cats, cream!
It's coming, and it's going to be so bad it won't even feel bad. But we'll be like, shit, remember when you could do all those things you can't do anymore? But, and there'll be a
remember
few people
freedom.
that remember it, and then they'll take all those books about that shit and burn the fuck out of them. They'll go, well, those aren't good.
All the books are being burned.
Burn. And people will
exactly.
forget when you could
exactly
be free, and they will just kind of create a society based on goodies, little goodies, little
Time for more
rewards,
soy.
and the addiction to celebrity.
Time for more bugs.
Our leaders will all be celebrities who will tell you on closed circuit television how good things are going.
Time to sleep in the
Good,
pod.
thanks.
Time for magic firebox.
That was one of the best rants I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play that because I thought
be powerful.
I thought that was that was a brilliant rant by Tim Dillon, just going over a potential future for America. I know that there are some people that are going to be against it, but you know what? I know there's a lot of people that are in favor of that kind of stuff. You know, so to each their own. You know, some people, man, they're going to want to live in the pods, and that's okay.
Yeah. Just don't forget about the banana protocols like we talked about before the show. You kind of have to talk over it and either that or pause it occasionally just to make sure the copyright thing doesn't catch us all.
It's whatever.
Yeah,
but
I think we did a decent analysis of this, honestly. It's like, yeah, honestly, that sounds about right to me. It's like, it's the type of stuff we always talk. I know you always talk about it from that angle. It's like, this is not a surprise to me. I'm sure there are people watching Joe Rogan, though, and Tim Dillon in that clip that are just like, you know what, I never thought about it that way. I never heard it put that way before, but like, that type of thinking isn't anything new to you or me.
Oh, no. I love that it was being said in such a, I guess, dark and bleak way on the most popular podcast in the world. It just, something about that makes me happy.
And it also wasn't like some raucously grandiloquent elitist like a Sam Harris type using a bunch of big, complicated, high vocabulary college words saying it. It was like a blue-collar guy with a working-class accent just telling it like it is in simple terms that everyone could understand, even a freaking child.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's he's a comedian type of guy. Actually, I watched his I guess I think it's his most recent stand-up special on Netflix a couple days ago. He's a funny guy. Yeah.
Well, if anyone understands comedy from the jokes you told at the start of the show, it's you.
That's right. I'm the fucking paragon of comedy. I'm so fucking good at it.
I'm surprised my sides recovered from that because that set was like that was like George Carlin on steroids level shit that you were doing. I mean, goddamn, I'm surprised I'm still alive. I didn't laugh to death.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm basically if Dave Chappelle and George Carlin had a baby, right? That's the level that I'm fucking at with my bullshit country puns. So.
You see, the only way that those two men could have a baby is with something like a synthetic replicator, like the revolutionary phenotype.
Do you wanna know another pun about another pun? So actually, this isn't even a pun. It's just something I've found out. There's a city in Germany called Hamburg, and do you know what you call like what the actual name of a person from Hamburg is called?
Not a hamburger.
It's a hamburger. I swear to God. It's like,
well,
it's like if you're from New York, you're a New Yorker. If you're from Hamburg, you're a hamburger.
You know, a weird thing about that, I think it was German immigrants from Hamburg that were they're not necessarily the creators themselves, but they're the popularizers of the American staple that has become known as the hamburger, and that's why it's called that, because the technique of cooking ground beef put through a mechanical meat grinder and then put between pieces of bread like a sandwich in that particular way was, from what I know, developed in Hamburg, Germany originally and popularized.
Well, you know what? The Germans haven't done many good things in this world. Throughout history, really, but maybe that is one good thing, because god damn it, I do like myself a good cheeseburger.
There's also a thing to be said about that. There's probably interspersed with this urban legend, there's a bit of American mythologizing happening here, because this is kind of a thing that happens in America I think it was actually the Asians that exploited this to the greatest effect, like the Asian mysticism and the kung fu secrets and the five-finger death palm and the fortune cookies at the Chinese restaurant. You know, a lot of stuff in Chinese restaurant is just a invention of Chinese Americans marketing Chinese themed things to Americans, and it didn't actually originate in China proper. Like fortune cookies are entirely an American invention. But when you get a fortune cookie at a Chinese restaurant, it's just like, ancient Chinese secret. Like, actually, no. It was an American thing from the start.
Yeah. No, the fortune cookies are an entirely American invention. You know, speaking of Asian cuisine, I know a little bit about the Filipino cuisine. And they actually do their spaghetti, because they have spaghetti in the Philippines. It's actually kind of a popular dish, but they do it very differently than like the Americans or the Italians do it, right? Like when you think spaghetti, you think, okay, you got some noodles, you got some like tomato sauce, or like some sort of like red sauce with like beef in it, maybe. Maybe get some meatballs. You get some like Parmesan cheese on top. You know, it's pretty good dish, honestly. I wouldn't say it's like amazing, but you know, spaghetti's pretty good. Now the thing in the Philippines is that they do their spaghetti a little bit differently, right? So instead of using let's say some sort of a tomato sauce, what they do is they use ketchup, and instead of meatballs, they use chopped up hot dogs. And that is actually that's Filipino spaghetti. You get some basic noodles, you chop up some hot dogs, and you just squirt ketchup all over that bitch, and that is Filipino spaghetti. They like to make it for like special occasions, and every time that I've ever fucking tried it, I'm like, this is just ketchup and noodles with little bits of hot dog. This doesn't seem like a good dish from like a culinary perspective, but they like it. And so, okay, to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, there's also I was talking to Apocrypha, if anyone remembers him from a few shows ago, and he's like a big fan of Indian food of various kinds. Now, certain Indian foods, like, you could eat them, and he's like, hey, it's different, but, you know, I kind of like it. Maybe opinions will vary. But there's other Indian foods where it's just, like, so weirdly contradictory to the Western palate that you think immediately, like, how the hell do people eat this? And it's probably a similar thing that you're describing with the spaghetti, ketchup, and hot dog. It's like, okay, I have all of those things, and I could technically make that right now, but would I want to?
Right, like I'm to me, it's like the most trailer of trailer trash in America, even if they were just bottom of the barrel poor, wouldn't even consider making that dish. But necessity is the mother of invention. So
you know what? I'll tell you something else about, like, because I'm like redneck trailer trash, bottom of the barrel myself, believe it or not. And I'll tell you something like the frickin' Ortega taco kit for taco night with the like somewhat medium shelf ground beef. I guarantee you that if I presented a frickin' burrito made with that seasoning to an actual Mexican, they would be like, "What the hell is this shit?"
Yeah, I remember hearing a story a little while back where like Taco Bell tried to move into Mexico and set up like franchises, and it did not go well. The people that live in Mexico, they decided that it was not authentic enough Mexican cuisine for them.
Because Mexicans, they could like find a frickin' mobile food truck that would probably be of better quality than anything Taco Bell has ever produced in its entire history. I can tell you that from experience, because in the border towns down in Texas at the southern border, I find a lot of those like Mexican cuisine trucks, and they barely speak English, if at all, and you just have to point and hand over the money and you get a thing. Whatever that thing is, it's a lot better than anything that's ever come out of Taco Bell, I can guarantee you.
Oh yeah. It's like, isn't Mexico like kind of famous for its street food? Like it actually makes no sense for a Taco Bell to be in Mexico, because like, why would you go to like this like drive-through that sells like the shittiest of the shit when you could just go to like a little cart and get like way better food, and it's probably cheaper because they don't have to, you know, pay for rent or anything. They don't have the overhead. So yeah. Little bit about world cuisine there.
Like any truckers listening, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like if you go down to Laredo, Texas, where the industrial quarter is, and you see all those like Mexican themed taco trucks, and you just park next to the road because there's room, and you just go over and get something from the freaking truck and go back to your truck. And it's like orders of magnitude better than Taco Bell.
Yeah, most definitely. So, moving ever so swiftly onwards, in other news, Brian Stelter, he's going to be leaving CNN and his show.
Oh my God!
I know. It's if I had a flag, it would be at half-mast. And his show, Reliable Sources, will be canceled.
You know what I'm thinking he'll do? He'll try to do like a shittier version of Chris Hansen, where he'll just become a bread tuber.
He could.
Like Brian Stelter in a couple years, I guarantee you he'll be talking to frickin' Vouch and ContraPoints and all of our favorite bread tube talking heads and frickin' live streams.
You know, to be fair, I think he would make an excellent bread tuber because, I mean, the guy, it looks like he eats a lot of bread.
Well, this is not a bully stream. We're not disparaging his aesthetic appearance, but we're just concerned that some of his dietary choices, you know, might not be the healthiest, and he should probably become vegan. We might want to sing a song about veganism, like the vegan teacher. She is very popular. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Or Vegan Gaines. Vegan Gaines is a wonderful person who has never been questionable on the internet in his entire career.
Yeah, no, that guy's interesting bloke. Having talked to some vegans that very much follow Vegan Gaines, they have some interesting ideas, but so Brian Stelter has actually been hosting the show Reliable Sources since 2013. I mean, the dude's been doing it for 9 years. Of course, the show is 30 years old, so he only really hosted it for the latter third. But yeah, they're going to be canceling Brian Stelter and the 30-year-long show. Here's the thing. I don't know how apparent it is, but I'm actually not a big viewer of CNN myself. Now, for those who don't know, Breaker here, he is actually a huge Brian Stelter fanboy, watches CNN basically 24/7 while he's driving his truck. That's the only thing that he listens to. And he's riding with Biden every day of the year. But you know, myself, I'm not a big CNN viewer, so this doesn't affect me in the least bit. But I've seen some of the stuff that Brian Stelter has done, and he seems like kind of a jackass. So personally speaking, I actually don't mind this that much. But Breaker, I know that you do. And so I just want to offer you my condolences.
Oh God! Like, what will I do without Brian Stelter's smiling face to greet me every day and tell me like 100% reliable, totally non-fake news? I don't know what I'm going. I need a moment. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. It's like you could. I know someone who has like a very contrasting opinion to mine on Brian Stelter, and that's Alex Emmerich Jones. So I sent you an image in the DMs on Discord of Brian Stelter's ever-present, beneficent, smiling face. If you want to pull that up, it's up to you.
That's a good
yes,
image.
there he is.
That's a good image. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there he is. You know what that is? That is a demon. Look at that face. Look at those little demon eyes. Look at that goblin face. It's like, you are my enemy, defiler, destroyer. History of the youth. I will stand against you. In the name of God, I stand against you. I'm here. I'm ready.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, look,
Thank you, Alex. Your services are appreciated. I have a lot of really passionate opinions about things, so yeah, don't mind me.
yeah. So, I don't know where it is that Americans will be getting their reliable sources from going forward. Obviously, this was the paragon of news that isn't fake. You know, some of that non-fake news. This was really the source of that, the reliable source of the non-fake news. This was important for so many American households, and it's a tragedy to just see it go away. And it's also been heard through the grapevine that there might be potentially other people that might be leaving CNN in the near future. And God, I don't know where it is that Americans are going to be getting their news from. So really a tragedy. But yeah, that's basically it. I mean, not much to say. Whatever. It's just, this is okay. Great. Yeah, he's leaving. Fantastic. I mean, it's good news. It's not super important. Because Brian Stelter was actually never that important from the get-go.
You know, now that I have to reconcile his absence, which pains me greatly, as you've just alluded to. I think I'll be able to look forward and move on. I got to stay optimistic in the future. I'm sure there'll be replacements. I'm sure he'll have a very lucrative career on BreadTube, talking to Vaush and ContraPoints about the finer points of gender ideology and transgenderism and all those wonderful, totally not fake news-oriented subjects that are very deep, profound philosophies of our modern day. So it'll be fine. I'm getting a little verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. The chickpea is neither a chick nor a pea. Discuss. And I'm back. Two people in the audience will get that reference. That's like an old American Saturday Night Live thing. Two people will fucking get that reference.
Hey, Breaker, what's the difference between a chickpea and a pistachio?
I have no idea. Whatever could it be?
I wouldn't pay $500 for a pistachio on my face.
See what you did there. Well, I know someone who would pay a lot more than $500, not only for the chickpea, but to have said chickpea all over a certain ex-president's bed, and that's Donald Trump, as we know, the avatar of Satan.
Damn. Yeah. No, that's the that was the Steele dossier, I believe. Yeah, which is just 100% corroborated as fact. Just definitely not.
That's the type of totally non-fake news that we won't get anymore now that Brian Stelter's leaving. Don't you feel horrible about this?
God damn it! Where will we get our true news from? He was our guiding star, our North Star, our compass.
Now you understand the shape of things. We need to prepare for the Guter Doomerang battle.
See, here's the thing. I don't know if Brian Stelter would actually want to go on to BreadTube, because I don't think that he has any sort of political ideologies. I think that he's mostly just a talking head who's willing to say whatever the network pays him to say. As far as I know, he doesn't actually believe in anything.
Well, you realize you've just described at least 80% of BreadTube.
Oh, right. I just realized what I did. He would be perfect. He's a great fit.
Yeah, you think Vaush simultaneously believes that on the one hand, all Republicans are like avatars of Satan, but on the other hand, Larry Bird, ex-KKK Klansman, is a totally good guy because Hillary Clinton once gave him a kiss. Do you think he actually believes those two things simultaneously?
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he somewhere in the strange highways of his progressive mind, those two things can actually coexist in a form that is not mutually exclusive and contradictory. I don't know. I'm not a bread tuber, but that would be like a very rarefied state of consciousness that I'm not entirely sure I would ever actually want to be in to find out. So let's move on.
All right, fair enough. So, for the next little bit of news, we have the fact that it's been, I guess, reported that there's a lot of billionaires that are trying to buy bunkers, and I believe Peter Thiel he was trying to build some sort of out in the middle of nowhere. I don't think it was a bunker precisely, but like way out in the middle of nowhere in New Zealand, like a home there. So it's not all bunkers. It's just like just places that are way, way, way out in the middle of nowhere that no one would actually think to try to conquer or fuck with or bomb. Yeah, apparently that's what a lot of billionaires are doing right now. According to some things that have been coming up in the media, and there have been some ideas about this. Like maybe it's because there's something that it just kind of feels like it's happening, right? Like you can just kind of feel in your bones, whether you're on the left or the right, or even if you don't even pay attention to politics at all. There kind of feels like a malaise in the society. There's something feels uneasy. You know, it's all the flocks of birds are flying away, and you're like, shit, something's coming. You can just kind of sense it. And you know, I think I kind of get that sense as well. Now we don't know exactly what that thing is. Is it World War III with a whole bunch of nukes launching at everyone? Is it just destabilization of our society as both the American and the Chinese economy hold hands in going under together? Is it something else? Is it I don't know? Fucking Facebook accidentally made a sentient AI and it's coming for us. Look, we don't necessarily know, but we feel like something might be wrong, and so I just wanted to bring up this article here. And it's Doomsday Prep for the Super Rich. Some of the wealthiest people in America, in Silicon Valley, New York, and beyond, are getting ready for the crack-up of civilization. Right? Now, here's the thing, right? I want to point this out. Just want to briefly point this out. This article is from January 22nd. January 22nd, 2017. Okay? This was 5.5 years ago. 5.5 years ago, this was posted to thenewyorker.com, and all I want to say is that I think that the billionaires have always been building bunkers, and if you think about it, it makes a bit of sense. Let's say that you think that there's a 1% chance of a nuclear holocaust happening. And you can spend 0.001% of your budget on building a bunker in order to ride out that holocaust. Well, if it has a 1% chance of happening, and you're spending way less than 1% of your money on that thing, then sure, it makes sense. I think that this is just a mathematical inevitability of rich people having lots of resources. Yeah, they always buy bunkers. Like, I would too.
Yeah, this somewhat reminds me of like the meme of Florida Man. Florida Man does something really kooky and zany and out of the ordinary. In this news article, where he had inappropriate relationships with an alligator, so to speak. I mean, or a monkey, or drove into his mother-in-law's house with his car while heavily inebriated and threw a Molotov cocktail, which caught fire and burned him to death. Yeah, it's like it's not just Florida that has these weird news stories. It's like it's become such a meme that when you hear the word Florida man, it's like, oh, this is going to be a good one. I'm sure there are a lot of articles about Chicago man, New York man, California man.
No.
Maybe even Montana and Wyoming man.
There's not, and there's actually a reason why. There's a reason why it is that the Florida man is always getting into Florida man troubles, and it has nothing to do with the people in Florida, or at least. Not entirely. Maybe it has a bit to do with the people in Florida, but a large part of it is actually the laws in Florida. So basically, whenever any sort of like crime or happenstance or whatever happens in Florida, it's available to the media. Not the name of the person necessarily, but just the event that happened. Whatever it is, it's available to the media. Most states do not actually just have a complete report of all the crimes that happen. They don't release that, but Florida does. So as a result, yes, all the states are filled with crazy, just fucking wonky things that dumb people do. It's just that Florida, by law, publishes all the shit that their dumb people do. That's the difference.
Very libertarian and freedom of information of them to do that. So, you see, this is one of the things about libertarianism that this is why if any place becomes more libertarian, it's automatically going to be conflated with Florida man-esque shit. Because it's not necessarily that anything really changed, it's just that the laws and the government shrank and became less restricting to what can and cannot be published about said things.
I don't know about that. I mean, I wouldn't say that the government publishing all crimes that happen all of the time is necessarily libertarian or anti-libertarian. I haven't really thought about that, but I don't think that's a specifically like libertarian doctrine. I think that's just a weird Florida thing.
Well, it's not a specific libertarian doctrine, but the specific libertarian doctrine that this impinges upon is like the shrinking of government and regulation. So if the regulatory bureau that decides through whatever machinations of state law that they do this to like publish certain criminal activities that happened in such a free and open way that's really readily and rapidly accessible to the media, that would be a shrinking of government, which would fall in line with libertarian doctrine incidentally, even though not explicitly outlined that, yes, we're now all Florida men because libertarianism. Like, it's not quite that simple, but that's a natural consequence.
No, it's more like, okay, classic Florida man story. Florida man arrested for giving his pet alligator cocaine, right? Now, that is something that you could expect to be from the Florida Man News, of course. But here's the thing. That is the state regulating three things. Number one, your ability to own an alligator. Number two, your ability to own cocaine. Number three, your ability to give the cocaine to your pet alligator. All right? As you shrink the government, that will no longer be a crime. You can give your alligator MDMA or psilocybin mushrooms or whatever the fuck you want, because maybe the alligator likes it, right? I'm not saying you should force the cocaine on the alligator. I'm just saying you can lay it out, and if the crocodile likes it, you can give him more. That's allowed. So, as you shrink the government and that becomes legal, it would no longer be a crime, and it would no longer be reported on. Ergo, it would be dope.
Yeah, that would be like with a universal libertarian push, but I'm more thinking it's like a more constrained, like atomized form of libertarian progression, where it's like it would probably first start with things like the state's capacity to withhold information from the public. That would probably be like ground zero for any type of state moving in a libertarian direction. So first you're going to see like all the weird laws that you're right, libertarianism would eventually overcome start to erode away to where that would be reported on less because it's technically not illegal anymore. But at first you would see it's like, wow, there's so many weird things happening in this state. I don't like freedom. Freedom bad. Let's go back to more regulation. But that wouldn't actually make a difference because the first thing you saw deregulated was the information itself.
Maybe, who knows? I don't.
But anyway, back to the millionaires and the billionaires and their bunkers. Like, yeah, like you were saying, this is nothing new. This has always been happening. It's just that the reason I brought up the Florida man parallel with it, it's like billionaires and millionaires are usually like explicit celebrities, people of public interest, or at least quasi-celebrities, just due to the fact that they have a lot of money and no other factors. So when rich people do things a lot in like this collective push, because there's so few of them and because they're of such great public import, you get this convergence of factors which leads like, hey, did you hear rich people are all doing this new thing? Now this happens all the time in celebrity culture. Like, hey, do you know these top 10 celebrities tried this new diet fad or whatever it is? It's like, hey, Will Smith lost 80 pounds on this thing. Click here to find out what he did. And then it's a bunch of commercials and bullshit. And it's just like Will Smith's like, you know what? I eat right and I exercise every day. And at the bottom of it is an advertisement for some diet thing he's not even actually taking. But they frame it that way to sell shit.
Well, right. I mean, look, the thing is that I think that for a long time, the very rich have been buying bunkers just in case. I mean, why not? If you have the money to do it, why wouldn't you just go ahead and do it? It makes sense to me. Like, even if you never use it, it's a little peace of mind to just have it and know, hey, you know what? If there was a fucking zombie outbreak, then I could just go live in a bunker for 50 years and eat the food. And like, if I was a multi-billionaire, I would probably spend money on that as well. Even if I thought there was only like a marginal % chance of a zombie outbreak happening. I mean, fuck it. You know, why not build a bunker? I mean, it's honestly not the worst investment either. Like, you can always just, sell it. If you build a particularly nice bunker, someone is going to want to buy it eventually. If you ever decide that you don't want it. I mean, it seems like a good investment to me. So I wouldn't get too, I guess, weirded out that billionaires are happening to still be buying bunkers to this day. But that's not to say that I don't think that we're headed for turmoil. I think that we definitely are. There's a number of things that are coming down the road that seem like really bad news for the United States. So number one, you got some Chinese and Russian activities. Obviously, Russia is trying to take the Ukraine, and NATO is involved in the war with Russia 100%. So that's happening. Obviously, China wants to take Taiwan. We'll see what happens there. I think that's going to get hot probably fairly soon. But while all of this is happening, America's economy is kind of in the gutter and likely to get even worse because, the thing is that Russia's war with the Ukraine has made it so that the availability of fertilizer and oil have dropped, which means that especially this coming fall and afterwards, food prices are likely to rise steeply in America. Won't be as bad as in some other nations. Some other nations might actually face quite a bit of, starvation due to lack of food. Potentially, that would be my guess. I don't know for certain. The lack of oil, of course, has hit everyone. And so that's brutal. So our economy is kind of in the shitter for that, and for other reasons. I mean, obviously, COVID. For whatever reason, we decided that if we could prevent just one death from COVID, then it was worth just completely ruining our economy and probably causing a lot more deaths in the process. But look, okay, deaths from COVID are worse than deaths from literally anything else, so we have to prevent the deaths from COVID. It just makes sense. And then also China's economy is rapidly failing. So their version of the stock market is the housing market, because overall their stock market kind of sucks. And now their housing market is in a ginormous bubble. People are literally paying mortgages for homes that are not even built yet because of the speculative bubble in that nation. And now it seems as though it's popping, and people are actually deciding to no longer buy homes. Now, when people stop buying homes, that's like if everyone in America just stopped buying stocks. Holy fuck, that's going to wreck the economy. What that means is that no one in China has any faith in the Chinese economy anymore. And while all of this is happening, Xi Jinping is still going after his zero COVID policy, which is particularly destructive, not just for the Chinese economy, but for the world economy, because so many nations are dependent on them for manufacturing. So what we have is some really interesting stuff. And then to top that all off, there's massive political disagreements in the United States, and it kind of feels like, you know what, even if we sort all the shit out with Russia and China tomorrow, the Democrats and the Republicans will still definitely not want to drop their shit, and will still want to eventually get into some sort of civil war. So I think that there's good reason for people to be a little bit antsy about the future.
Yeah, that's a lot of like really decent analysis you did there of a lot of like really global issues all condensed down into like something that the average person could comprehend as like, there is a lot of turbulence and turmoil in the world, and we should be prepared for something because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. But I'll kind of explore like a slightly different angle of this, which is more of a PR angle, which sort of goes into some of the stuff you said. Like I brought up Florida Man before, you know, there's also like all types of frame games, as a famous YouTuber once said, around this. Because, okay, you have this news article here that's framed in a very specific way of like rich people getting bunkers. It doesn't seem to be extremely speculative, and to the extent that it is speculative, it's just like, what could they be getting bunkers for? Who knows? It's kind of this like quasi-vague thing that's happening. Now, also, another part of the framing of this, because it's rich people doing it, they have PR people, and they probably have stocks in networks, and maybe even the newspaper itself that is putting this out. I don't know. So when stories about them doing like collectivized movements like this come out, it's very tempered and metered and measured and highly selective and edited in how it is presented to you. Where there's another group of people that have been doing preparations of this nature for a long time too, and that's the quote-unquote doomsday preppers, if you ever heard of them, the meme. And look at how they're presented, like a frickin' TLC show of doomsday preppers, and like it goes through the doomsday preppers, like bug-out bags and bunkers and like preparations and all the supplies they have, and it's all this dramatic music interspersed with them and their theories about what could happen sometime in the future that is usually framed in like some type of incendiary political way, because these people, I have a feeling, aren't always progressively left in their ideologies, if you know what I mean. So there's a very different PR presentation of those people who are doing technically the same thing on a smaller scale than what the millionaires and billionaires are doing. But if you were to see that same thing in a televised form of a billionaire or millionaire doing it, there would be like classical music playing in the background, and this like a highly selectively edited camera angles and James Bond spy shots of the bunker door opening slowly with like the glittering around the perimeter of the screen. It's like, oh yes, here is my preparation bunker with everything that I need. If the Elon Musk was in there, he'd have like a poster of a rocket or some shit in a computer of some kind that's Linux, and he would spend like a couple minutes talking about the stuff that he is there in very technical details, while very calming and soothing music played in the background. Or if it was MTV Cribs, some type of anodyne pop music would be playing as the MTV superstar is like, oh, look at this. I got my silk. I got my stuff in here, man. I got everything I needed here, man. Shit.
Look, Breaker, what you don't understand is that if you, a common pleb, spend $1,000 preparing for, some sort of disaster, then you're fucking crazy. What's wrong with you? However, when a billionaire spends $50 million preparing for a coming disaster, it's fucking dope. It's rad, bro. That's the difference. Learn your place.
Yeah, and you see, you brought it all back around and put a very neat bow on it when you framed it that way, because it's like the people who control all of these publications in the day, to whatever capacity they do, maybe it's not explicit. Maybe they just shake hands with someone who writes these editorials. I don't know. Maybe it is explicit in that they fund this or have stock in this and investments in this somehow. It could be either of those things in the day, but at the end of the day, they want whatever they're doing to be very calming and soothing. It's like, there's nothing to worry about. Everything is fine. Like, billionaires always do this. It's just a completely normal thing that we do. But like you said, anytime a common person does that, it's like, oh, that's a crazy conspiracy theorist that think gay frogs are going to rain from the sky and destroy all of humanity.
Yeah, fucking cringe, bro. Look, stop trying to prepare, okay? Look, just let the government take care of you, all right? You'll get your pod, you'll get your daily allotment of bugs, except on Thursdays, because you won't be able to get them on Thursdays, but you'll live through it, okay? It's fine.
Yeah, it's almost as though they kind of want you to not be as prepared as them for when the shit inevitably does crack off, if it does in fact crack off to the extent that certain people would theorize that it does. It's almost as though they're just like, we got to split the wheat from the frickin' shaft, and there's a certain from the chaff, and there's a certain word that we can't say on YouTube that you've said before in another forum and got banned for. We know what that word is, but we're not allowed to talk about that. But this is technically a form of it. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's the G word. That's a very dangerous word. But yeah. So I think that people do have cause to be concerned. To be fair, I'm just saying that it's not alarming that billionaires are buying bunkers. They've been doing it for a long time. Yeah, people should be concerned, and in fact, in general, maybe you do want to buy some go to Costco. Don't go crazy. By the way, you don't need a shit ton of toilet paper, okay? Just some non-perishable goods that you can store in your cabinet for a while. Maybe some like some noodles or something. I'm not saying that noodles are super healthy, but they'll keep you alive. Maybe some like jarred pasta sauce so you can make some spaghetti, or if you're from the Philippines, maybe some pasta and ketchup and Vienna sausages so that you can make that particular culinary dish. Just maybe stock up just a bit, because look, it might get bad, and you know what? If it doesn't, then in that case, you just have some extra food that you can eat when you're haven't been to the grocery store in a while and you're too lazy to fucking go to your local Safeway or whatever, and you're like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just make some spaghetti. Just an idea. But here's the thing, the world, it's getting bad, and especially with the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's gotten so hard for women in America, because look, how could they possibly prevent themselves from having a child? So and that's why abortions exist, okay? They're the last form of birth control that really prevents the baby from happening. And look, in the case of like incest or rape, should you be able to have an abortion? Yes. But also, if you get to the third trimester and you just decide that you don't want the little fucking thing, should you be able to have an abortion? Also, apparently yes. So that's a thing. But you know what? There are some men that are standing up and they're saying, you know what? It's not right that abortion is no longer allowed in certain red states. Of course, if you're in like most any blue states, it's like still like totally fucking acceptable. It just the Supreme Court decision, it just kicked it back to the states essentially, so the states have the right to decide things. And I mean, is it really up to the purview of the federal government to decide these things? Probably not, because I mean, I don't remember there being an amendment in the Constitution about abortion. So the Supreme Court, it mostly just made it a states issue thing. And so if you live in a red state, maybe you can't get an abortion anymore. But you know what? Most of the people who are really gung-ho about getting abortions tend to live in blue states. So honestly, it doesn't affect that many people. But here's the thing. Men have stood up, and in solidarity, they've said it's not right, and therefore I'm going to get a vasectomy. So here we are. This is from timcast.com. It's they have news. They have articles.
Civil War. Everybody get ready. Civil War. I'm Tim Pool.
That is exactly right. Yes, yeah. That is the I believe that is Tim Pool's central philosophical claim. That is where he bases all of his central philosophies off of. Just Civil War will happen. I kid. No, I like Tim Pool, but yeah. So it says here, young men are flooding doctors' offices around the country to get vasectomies, sometimes on camera for their followers. So this is a video. This is a guy getting a vasectomy. It's not pleasant to watch, but you know what? I'll play it because I watched it, so therefore everyone has to watch it.
Oh God.
I'm in no pain right now. I'm walking. I filmed the entire thing, face up, of course. Yeah. We'll pinch here. Oh, that was not nearly as bad as you thought it was gonna be. Oh yeah, I thought it was gonna be like I'm losing a ball.
Of course, he's wearing a mask. He's got to be wearing a mask.
I'm giving you a front row seat to my procedure. Join me.
Okay.
Well, at least in that context, the mask was appropriate because it is a medical procedure, so I can kind of forgive that, okay?
Yeah, the doctor wears a mask. Whatever.
Well, if it's a medical procedure you're going to be talking during, you don't want your spit flicks to land on your open surgical incisions.
So we also have this.
Future of abortion in Indiana.
Made the connection before, but it makes sense.
A connection between vasectomies and Roe v. Wade.
We both think it's because of the news media coverage and how fresh it is. It's top of mind.
Dr. Donald Snyder has been practicing for 20 years, performing nearly 55,000 vasectomies.
This is just a local anesthetic. In fact,
Jesus.
we use a no-needle numbing device to get the patients comfortable. No sedation, oral or otherwise, is needed or recommended. And people can go about their business that day as long as their business isn't heavy lifting and strenuous activity.
Friday, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, he says inquiries increased significantly.
This was just the thing that pushed them to act.
He normally gets around 20 patients registered a week, but since Friday,
Jesus.
he's had more than 80 men requesting the procedure. That's 4 times more patients than in prior weeks.
In a few recent cases, they have mentioned that Roe v. Wade was one of the things that prompted them to do that they already were sure that they didn't want to have any kids, and that did take away one of their options to ensure that happened.
Dr. Snyder says his patient demographic has also changed significantly. Prior to this uptick, his patients were men in their 30s with 2 kids. Now,
we're seeing some patients in their 20s.
Snyder says due to the influx in patients, he estimates he will snip over 1,000 men this year. Working for you, Caitlin Kindle, WRTV.
And for anyone.
Okay, so there you have it. There's an uptick in men getting vasectomies in solidarity with women.
Well, for that individual doctor, in that case, it was like a 400% uptick. So I don't know if you average that out among the population of, it looked like it was in America, so America writ large. I don't know if that number would hold necessarily in all locations, but I mean, that is a significant uptick in that one example. Of course, you need more data to have a more informed picture overall, but yeah, this is like a very telling thing about. He even says himself, it's like it's theorized that it's because the Roe v. Wade, and it's fresh in everyone's mind right now. So, I believe over time, this will probably trend downward over time, and it's just a really sharp uptick right now. But I think it's one thing that men are taking initiative over birth control in this particular way that's really present in the news media now. I think that is a good thing, honestly.
Okay, well, you know what? I agree with you, Breaker. I think that this is an amazing thing. You see, there's this weird idea that a vasectomy is just totally reversible, not a big deal. It's
yeah,
not.
I'm aware that it's not always 100%. Yeah.
So to get a vasectomy is very, very inexpensive, right? But in order to reverse the vasectomy, number one, you're looking at a much more expensive procedure because you're not just cutting some cords. You actually have to take the cords out, remove the scar tissue, and then suture the two cords back together. It's a much, much, much more difficult and intensive surgical procedure. I'm not saying it's life-threatening. I'm just saying it's more difficult and intensive for the most part. And also, it's less. You're not going to get all of your functionality back. So you're going to be looking at even after a couple of years, you're looking at like 30 to 70% functionality if it takes. And if you wait even longer, right? If you go past like 5 years after your vasectomy, it's very likely that you'll never get that ability back to be able to have live rounds. You'll just be shooting blanks forever. Now that is the thing is that if there's a huge uptick in men that are doing this in response to Roe v. Wade and fucking, solidarity with the womans, then, okay. I guess they don't necessarily need to be in the gene pool. I'm cool with that, because that leaves more room for my kids. So yeah, you're right, Breaker. This is great news.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that the particular type of men that would be the most concerned about this, where they would take it this far to actually go ahead with such a procedure like this, are, to put it as politely as possible, relatively are selected.
Yeah, exactly. I don't personally understand doing this. There is no fucking universe where I'm going to selectively sterilize myself. I don't see a single fucking upside to that, other than, I guess if your only concern is never having children or not ever having more children, but just fucking a lot because you love fucking. I guess that is an upside, right? But Jesus Christ, just walking, like, I don't know. I feel like that would damage my ego, just walking around knowing that I only shoot blanks. There's something just emasculating about that. It rubs me the wrong way. Fuck that shit. Why would anyone do that to themselves? And this also goes for women who decide to get their tubes tied, the tubal litigation thing. I'm pretty sure that is also a thing that is technically reversible, but not really. And it's like, Jesus Christ, men or women, why would you selectively choose to sterilize yourself? Like, that just, God, it seems like insanity that someone would do that.
Yeah, and by the way, this is not official medical advice. Please consult a qualified physician or healthcare professional regarding all of your medical decisions, elective or otherwise.
Right, no, this isn't advice. I'm just asking questions. Like, why the fuck would you do this?
Yeah, and I'm fairly confident that qualified medical professionals would make you aware of these risks because, with the malpractice, especially in America, they're going to have a very detailed spreadsheet with very detailed statistics about the risks and benefits.
Oh, I'm sure that they would, just like how they make all of the risks.
Which you should all read very carefully and consult the physician very carefully before doing anything like this.
I'm sure that they would, just like how I'm sure that they make all of the pros and cons, benefits and drawbacks very aware in the mind of the 16-year-old who is deciding to transition and get a full double mastectomy, right?
How dare you? That's part of my identity. I'm valid. Stop invalidating me, you bigot.
Yeah. Fucking brilliant stuff. I mean, look, all I'm saying is that if there is, let's say, theoretically, a massive Reddit that is called R detransitioning, and it's all about people that went through the transition process and then detransitioned, and now they're all really sad because they're sterile and they fuck their bodies up. I'm just thinking that maybe the amount of consultation that one gets for a 30-minute procedure like a vasectomy, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've never gone to the clinic to get a vasectomy. I don't know. All I can do is say, huh.
Indeed, and also keep in mind that I think be watchful for this in the news, because I think now that this is in the news, something a natural kickback to this is coming down the pipe. I guarantee you there'll be some type of woman's group or feminist or LGBTQ or all of them combined into one collective mass of eldritch, abominable humanity. I'm sure they're coming down the pipe, and they're going to actually find a reason that's not necessarily the reasons like the risks from the medical and consultation side of it that you bring up and that I brought up a minute ago, but it's more going to have to do with something. This makes it harder for women to get welfare checks for illegitimate children. Something to that. They won't say it like that, but that's what they'll mean.
Well, I mean, shit, we always have to take it back, no matter what, to, won't please someone think of the women and children.
Like, men get vasectomies, women most affected, and you know what? They're technically not wrong, because now it's going to be harder for them to put men in baby jail.
Shit, you know what? Like, imagine in 10 years, all the feminists are like, God damn it, we can't get child support because all of these men are infertile. What the hell?
Yeah, that's gonna be. I guarantee you that will come up. That will come up relatively soon, but it will get worse over time, and it will eventually reach that apex where women will protest at women's marches about vasectomies, and they'll try to ban them. I guarantee you that will fucking happen. It will be women doing it.
How am I supposed to make a living if I can't squeeze another man out of money because he didn't get me pregnant? How am I supposed to be alive?
It won't be that tactical. It will be like some type of emotional shaming bullshit. It's like, real men don't get vasectomies. What, did your mother hurt you or something? Like, oh, the little tiny baby man with his little tiny baby penis, like blah blah blah, emotional manipulatory bullshit. That's just like, yeah, keep walking, bitch.
Well, they've already won me over because I will never ever fucking get a vasectomy. It is far too counter to my entire political worldview, political philosophical worldview, and I hope to still be packing live rounds until I'm fucking 70.
Well, there you go. Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, next up, a poll from NPR, of all places. NPR, National Public Radio, where
with a very soft-spoken man, not similar in the vein to Sam Harris. Welcome to NPR. This is the NPR podcast. Brief housekeeping. Donald Trump is still a douchebag. and I hate him.
Hey, welcome to NPR. We just wanted to let you know that we here at NPR, we're okay with trans kids. Okay, so a majority of Americans see an invasion at the southern border. NPR poll finds. So this is a poll that NPR actually produced. And we can scroll down here for the results. And so the majority of Americans say there is an invasion at the southern border. It says, with migrant apprehensions at record levels, large numbers of Americans across the political spectrum describe the situation at the southern border as an invasion. And of course, Republicans are most likely to agree. So, in the green, we have completely true and somewhat true. In the orange, we have completely false, and then in the gray, we have don't know. I don't know why they didn't include somewhat false. Like, usually if you had completely true, somewhat true, completely false, you would have somewhat false. It doesn't show here, which is odd to me. Like, that it's a weird way to construct a poll.
This is NPR viewers we're talking about. This is like Reddit moderators and soy faces. Like, too many colors would confuse them.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. You don't want to make it too complicated.
They would start thinking it was a rainbow pride flag instead, and they would make it their identity.
But with Democrats, when you add up the completely true and somewhat true, actually, even with Democrats, you have 41% of Democrats agreeing with this, which is actually kind of nutty. Republicans, of course, are at 76% because they're based. Independents are at 47%, so kind of, fence sitters. And then overall, for everyone in the nation, I guess everyone they polled, I guess that you'd be looking at 53% agree that there's an invasion happening from the southern border. So yeah, that's I guess it's maybe it's not just a meme. Maybe it's not just in the minds of the MAGA Republicans. Maybe there are a shit ton of people coming in from the southern border.
I somewhat think it's like how people of a different political perspective might interpret this. It's like they specifically use the language of invasion here. So I think there's a bit of frame gaming happen here. I somewhat have to wonder if it's like when they polled these people, I somewhat doubt that the word invasion actually came up, if you know what I mean.
Well, according to the way that they worded the poll, it seems and by the way, this is from NPR. It's not like they would be like trying to make it seem like America. Like, if anything, they would try to make it in the opposite direction. But it's from the wording of their poll, and they say "quote unquote" invasion. They put it in quotes here. It seems like
color me skeptical, but I somehow when I think the actual people that were polled when they got this paper or online survey or whatever the form was this in, color me skeptical, but I have a feeling that it wasn't worded that way when the people were actually taking the poll. I can't be entirely sure. I would have to actually see like some type of representation. Like if someone has an email or can like do a screenshot and actually took this when NPR was doing this, that could leave it in the comments or send it to one of us on Discord. I would very much like to see that because, I have a feeling that it wasn't worded that way.
Well, yeah, who knows? To be fair, I don't know how much of our audience are active NPR listeners, but yeah, I don't know. I'll trust them because also I don't think that they have a massive I mean, it's kind of a weird poll because they don't have like a somewhat false category. Like, I have no idea why that is. Whatever. Anyway, the point is that even when it comes to Democrats, when you compare the true to the false, you're looking at 41% true and 34% false and 25% I don't know. So the trues actually outnumber the falses. The plurality of the vote, even within Democrats, is that yes, there's a fucking invasion. And keep in mind, by the way, that not everyone coming in from Mexico is Mexicanese, right? You have lots of people that come in from Mexico. You have African migrants, you have Middle Eastern migrants, because it's, I guess, in some instances, it's easier. Let's say that you live in I don't know, Sudan. Then it might be easier for you to travel over to Brazil and then march upwards towards America than it is to actually just go straight over to America. Or maybe you go directly to Mexico and then move to America. So a lot of the people that come across the border are not necessarily from Mexico innately. So there are a lot of people coming up from the southern border. And of course, there is no way to stop this. It's impossible to stop it. It's not as though you could build some sort of like structure, I guess, that would create a physical impediment towards I mean, how would you, like, a physical impediment that is on the border that was like tall.
I think there's a word for that.
It would be like kind of tall, but it'd be very wide. And how would you? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but I do. My opinion is, if such a structure that we can't figure out the word for would exist, I think Mexico should pay for it.
Maybe they should. Yeah. Yeah. So that I found that to be an interesting little article from NPR of all places. Maybe.
I don't think there's not a lot of Mexican news stories. There's like, there's an invasion of Americans into Mexico. Like, I don't hear about that as often.
Dude, that's not true. That's not true. Actually, that was in the news maybe like a week or two ago.
An invasion of Americans into Mexico.
Dude, yes. Wait
a minute. Are you talking about spring break?
That would have been a couple months ago. No. So I forget the name of the article. But it existed, I swear. And basically, the thing was that a lot of, at least a decent number of Americans have realized that since COVID, they've been able to work from home. And so their jobs have just now become work from home. And so instead of paying American rates, why not just move to Mexico, where they still have decent, Wi-Fi and internet, pay way less for basically everything, but still get an American salary. And so there's certain places in Mexico that have kind of been overrun by Americans who have just become like expats who are now working from home for American companies. And then it was this story, and it was like this Mexican guy, he walked into a restaurant and they gave him a menu in English. And he was like, what the fuck is this? Why is this menu in English? Give me a fucking menu in Spanish. Which, by the way, I totally understand. I would also be frustrated if I was him. So that's the thing, man.
So now the shoe's on the other foot. It's like, now they go to the restaurant and everyone's speaking English with English menus. Like, I can't understand anything around here.
Yeah, and now they're pissed, and they're like, what the fuck? Look, in Mexico, you speak Spanish, bro, all right? All right, this is a Spanish-speaking nation. All right? Yeah, we don't do this fucking English bullshit. In Mexico, you speak Spanish, all right, bruv? Like, yeah, okay, I get it.
That reminds me of a certain like Mexican national that was a truck driver that I met one time in Laredo, Texas, and he was asking me if I spoke Spanish, and I was like, no. And he was just like, unbelievable, you don't speak Spanish. What kind of place is this? Like, motherfucker, you are in America. You do remember that, right?
I remember.
But now apparently I can go to Mexico. I was like, hey, this has been using English. Oh, that's kind of strange, but okay.
I remember. This was like shit. How long ago was this? This would have been like 7 years ago. Anyway, so I was in a major metropolitan area, and it's mostly like it's for the most part it's a white metropolitan area. You know, there's minorities or whatever, but it's mostly white. Anyway, so there's this grocery store. It was a Hispanic grocery store, and I go in and I'm like, hey, you know what? There are some Hispanic goods that I like. I'll go in, get some goods, whatever. So go in, buy some shit. Prices are relatively reasonable. I get to the checkout, and the lady starts speaking Spanish at me, and I go, hablo inglés? And then she just shakes her head at me. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. And then like I'm like buying my shit, and then she like asks me another question, and I'm like, I don't know. And she gives me the most fucking hateful look. And she's like, what the fuck are you like the look said, what the fuck are you doing in this store, gringo? And I'm like, dude, we're north of the Mason-Dixon line. Like, what the fuck? Why are you upset with me for speaking English? Like, what is wrong with you? It's like...
And that is really peculiar, isn't it? You know what? The people I encounter, the closest thing to that I come to is like the people at the Chinese restaurant, like the fresh off the boat motherfuckers. But they're just always in a perpetual state of being pissed off. But at least they make a somewhat cogent attempt at broken, sometimes not entirely correct English that is at least an attempt. Because something about Asians is like, okay, when we're in our place and speaking to everybody, like all the cooks are in the back talking, like the freaking cashiers talking to the people in the back. It's like they're all speaking like whatever Asian language it is. But then you come in, it's like, oh, damn it, I have to kind of try and speak English, but I'm not going to like it. Whereas like the freaking Hispanics are just like, no, fuck you, Spanish or death.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a funny little poll from NPR. Moving ever so swiftly onwards, we have a little piece from... I mean, speaking of NPR,
Oh God.
someone who talks like he could be the head of NPR. A little
Welcome.
man named
Yeah.
Sam Harris. And he's here for us today.
Welcome to the Waking Up Podcast. This is Sam Harris. Okay, brief housekeeping here. Not only is Donald Trump still a incredulous Chaucerian fraud and a douchebag, but Hunter Biden, I wouldn't have cared if Hunter Biden had the most gruesome photographs of the most heinous crimes involving children on his laptop. It still would have not been sufficient to sway me of the opinion that Donald Trump is Orange Hitler.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I believe that morality is a thing that we can find in an objective universe. Now, what I'm saying makes absolutely no fucking sense, right? But if I can say it in a relatively intelligible manner, then perhaps I can convince some people to believe that you can find morality in a purely materialistic universe. For some reason. I'm Sam Harris.
Wonderful.
I want to point out, literally, Sam Harris, I might have misspoke there. I think I said objective. That wasn't correct. But I want to point out that Sam Harris said that within a materialist universe, one can find like a morality, an objective morality in a purely materialist universe. He said that. He defended it multiple times. I think he might still defend it to this day. It makes no goddamn sense. It has always been my largest issue with the man, because it's insane. Breaker, back me up. That's insane, correct?
Yeah, I would probably... We've had arguments about moral nihilism in the past, but the way you frame it now, I would probably mostly agree with you. The only caveat I would add to this is, like, I think it's possible to find something like, within human confines, some type of contextual framework that's probably an evolutionary adaptation to work within a dynamic and changing environment that humans do have in spades. You could find that, but how that, like, bizarre emergent biologically instantiated behavior manifests from individual to individual and culture to culture is a completely different issue that is much less objectifiable than is its origins in biology and evolution.
Yeah, bro. Look. The human, from my perspective, it's like, okay, yeah. Morality exists because it benefited humans from an evolutionary perspective to hold something that was kind of in the same ballpark as what we consider to be morality. Yeah, 100%. I can get behind that. But that doesn't mean that it makes any goddamn sense to say that one can find objective morality within a materialistic universe that is purely materialistic. What the fuck? That's crazy talk.
Yeah,
and he wrote a
even
book
to
on
the
it.
Yeah, even to the extent that an individual, like a highly enlightened individual that's basically a walking paragon of morality, could even find it even atomized down to that level, they would still be subject to the whims of a dynamic and changing environment around them, to where certain very difficult moral questions would come up no matter how rigorous and objective you think that your framework is in a given moment. The environment can always change with little to no direct input from you, leading you down a path where some decisions and moral norms and mores that you used to adhere to might now be utterly untenable.
Well, we will listen a bit to his genius-ship, Sam Harris, and see what he has to say.
There's one person who could have not done what he did and could have closed the door to this whole phenomenon. It was Mark Burnett. But yeah, no, by giving him the attention, but he was great ratings, for a year, for the whole run up to the 2016 election. Oh yeah, no one has clean hands here, but
I should point out that this is Sam Harris appearing on the trigonometry podcast,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
At the 11th hour, when who knows how this election is going to go, who knows what the capacity for disinformation at the last minute to tip the balance is. Then what do you do with the Hunter Biden laptop story when we already know, we know how this played out in 2016 with the Hillary Clinton email, press conference where Comey in an abundance of scrupulosity felt like he had to come before the cameras, I think 10 days out from the election, and say, we're going to open up this investigation again because we've got Anthony Weiner's laptop. We could see, again, her failure to become president was overdetermined. She was an appallingly bad candidate.
Mm-hmm. See, that I can agree with Sam Harris on. I believe, Hillary Clinton was an appallingly bad candidate. Yeah, 100%.
There's some common ground there.
Yeah.
But in terms of just tracking the poll numbers, you could like that was the killing blow to her candidacy, right? That final moment, and this was a highly analogous situation. This was, we're going to open up this laptop from hell, and the news cycle for who knows how long is going to be just conceivably just a nuclear bomb of an October surprise, and we're going to get 4 more years of Trump if we actually give this a fair hearing.
But Sam,
Well, look, I mean, that's a good point. Look, I mean, if you release the laptop of Hunter Biden, you could get 4 more years of Trump, and no one wants that. No one in America wanted that. Literally everyone in America was like, no, we don't want Trump. So yeah, you wouldn't want to get the laptop out there. That's for goddamn certain.
Especially not Sam Harris. I mean, goddamn.
No, yeah. I mean, look, Trump is the true evil. Okay, look, I mean, did maybe Hunter Biden, like, you know, do a whole bunch of crack cocaine while allegedly, maybe, potentially, sexting his niece, while also, fucking his dead brother's wife? I mean, yeah, potentially, right? I mean, is it possible that maybe also Hunter Biden was used as a proxy by Joe Biden in order to gain a shit ton of money from Burisma doing deals in both China and the Ukraine? I mean, yeah, sure, but Trump is mean. We can't let Trump get in.
But you can't do that, Sam. Surely you've got to realise that. You've got to be fair. And the thing that I want to
we're all equal before the law.
Yeah, and
aren't we?
And the other
this isn't the law. But
I know it's not the law. But
Yeah.
if you accept my supposition that this is the public square, then it is the law. It is. If it is the public square, then it is law. Now you're arguing it's not the public square, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah,
Look, why don't we move on? Because I think we've done enough.
Yeah,
on Trump.
yeah,
He's
of
sucked
course.
up a lot of it.
He's got a habit of doing that.
Yeah, no, but I'll just say, just finally, I do again.
Should have
it's
moved
like
on.
a coin toss for me, the Hunter Biden laptop thing, because I do understand how corrosive it is for an institution like the New York Times to show obvious bias and inconsistency and dishonesty in how it's like they couldn't even frame it honestly. It's not like it's like the way I would frame it is,
No shit, Sherlock.
listen, I don't care what's in Hunter Biden's. I mean, Hunter Biden, at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared, right?
Well, I mean,
Well, there's the stinger.
I mean, who would care about that, right? I know I wouldn't care. What's the big deal? What's the big deal?
Like, no, you know what the underlying paradox of this is? That weirdly enough, I was watching the Lotus Eaters and they brought up this point. Technically, with all of the both legitimate and questionable investigations and 24/7 round-the-clock coverage of Trump over those 4 years where he was president, especially, basically with like bad faith actors and like even neutral actors and some good faith actors all looking to investigate him and find something. The best they could do was he pissed in Obama's bed and other random, insane sounding, clearly conspiratorial crap. Like, if anything, they prove that Donald Trump is one of the most clean as a whistle people who's not only ever been president, but who's ever walked the face of the fucking earth.
Yeah, kind of. Here's my response to that point that Sam Harris made. Look, I wouldn't care how much hooker piss Donald Trump guzzled. Okay, he could have guzzled gallons, kilo gallons of.
Metric one, liters. Liters of urine.
Actually, so most people, like, if you were to ask, like, what's a kiloliter, they would say it's a kiloliter, right? But what's a
1,000 liters?
Right. But here's the thing, right? You have a meter, but then you have you don't call it a kilometer, you call it a kilometer, right? So if it's a liter, then it's a kiloliter.
Well, okay, volume is usually kilo, and length is usually...
No. Kilo describes times 1,000, right? That's independent of unit, right? So if you were to have, like, a meter is a meter.
Well, technically it is kilometer, but the English that you most often hear that being said is shortened to kilometer.
No,
because that's how English talk.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, right? If you can have, like, okay, so you can have like a millimeter, and you have a milliliter, right? You have a meter, and you have a liter. If you have a kilometer, then you have a kiloliter. That's how it would follow. So anyway, regardless of how many kiloliters of hooker piss that Donald Trump guzzled, that is actually something that I would not care about. I do not care about the amount of hooker piss that my president imbibes. What I care about is, number one, is he making backdoor deals with Ukraine and China? Number two, is he sniffing little girls? Number three, lots of other corruption. So, you know, to a certain extent, I do kind of agree with Sam Harris here, except I think that it's pretty damning to have dead children on a laptop. That doesn't make me want to vote for someone. The hooker piss is okay. I mean, in theory, that's all adults that are all consenting to something, right? When you bring in the children, it's no longer consensual. That's not a good thing. I am actually super against that kind of stuff. Hooker piss...
To clarify, Sam Harris specifically said just then, not even just on the laptop, but literally physically in his basement where he lives, the corpses of... Because you could get photographs of dead children on your laptop in a bunch of different ways, some of which are actually legal to obtain and have, but to have the actual corpses of physical dead children in your basement, that's much more morally and legally damning.
yes, you're right. Yeah, look. All I'm saying is that hooker piss, it's not great, but it's two consenting adults doing a business transaction. All right? As a libertarian, I'm more or less, I have to be okay with that. That doesn't mean I approve it. That just means I'm okay with it. I tolerate it. There's a difference between approving of something and tolerating something. I tolerate that. I have no tolerance for the dead kid shit. All right, let's keep listening.
It's like there's nothing. First of all, it's Hunter Biden, right? It's not Joe Biden, but
right.
Even if whatever scope of Joe Biden's corruption is, like if we could just go down that rabbit hole endlessly and understand that he's getting kickbacks from Hunter Biden's deals in Ukraine or wherever else, right, or China, it is infinitesimal compared to the corruption we know Trump is involved in. It's like a firefly to the sun, right? I mean, like
what is this corruption that Sam Harris is talking about? I'm really curious.
Yeah, that's what I brought up before. It's like with all the investigations into Trump, like where's the fucking corruption?
Well, he said corruption, so he must be alluding to something. I'm just curious about what precisely
something
it is.
Substantive with actual empirical evidence backing up this claim, you would think. But like I said before, with the amount of investigations from both good and bad faith actors and some completely neutral actors, and all the investigations from the news, from all the government organizations, from the Mueller probe to all the other shit that went into frickin' Trump, and they couldn't find anything enough to even start a trial, and they couldn't even get enough votes for a fucking impeachment. Like, where's the fucking actual meat on this bone?
Well, I'm sure that if we keep listening, he'll go into the into the corruption that happened. I'm sure of it. We'll find out.
I'm sure that will happen. Yes.
There's just it doesn't even stack up against Trump University, right? Trump University as a story.
Trump University
is worse than anything that could be in Hunter Biden's laptop.
I'm sorry.
Trump University.
So that's it.
It's
It's the Trump University.
he had like a fake college that he didn't have an official signet ring from the almighty cathedral that empowers my neuroscience. I am a planeteer of the cathedral, and my neuroscience PhD ring empowers me to tell you that Trump University doesn't have an official ring. They got it from a Cracker Jack box. It's totally fake. Oh.
You know what? Wow. Okay, so Trump, right? Okay, let's put this on the scale of corruption, right? Like we have the two arms of the scale, and we're trying to figure out like what is the biggest amount of corruption? Okay, so on the Trump side of things, we have Trump University, and let's put this in the most negative way that we can. Trump defrauded a few thousand people out of some money, and then because maybe it was kind of a scam, and so he took some money from some people. Okay, and I believe that a couple lawsuits happened, and they were all settled outside of court. That's just the facts. Okay, all right, cool. So on that side, we have that level of corruption, right? It has nothing to do with international deals between, let's say, the United States and Ukraine. Has nothing to do with defrauding the American taxpayer. The people that decided to sign up for Trump University did that of their own accord. Okay, and on the other side, we have the shit that's happened with Biden, which we've just gone over. It's
like mind-boggling international levels of multi-billion-dollar corruption, some of which probably got some people directly killed as a result of, leading to the destruction of thousands upon thousands of lives and careers.
And when Sam Harris looks at this scale, he goes, yes, the Trump corruption is worse. Now, when I listen to that reasoning, I think, you know what? I think that the major weight that is behind that scale, why it is that the Trump side is so much heavier than the Biden side, I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with Trump University. I think it has to do with Trump. I don't think that Sam Harris likes Trump very much. I think he's letting his feelings get in the way of his thinkings.
No, it couldn't be that. That's what religious people do. And don't you know anything about Sam Harris? He is like vehemently anti-religion and irrationality and dogma and dogmatism and fucking all these things that he railed against for decades. He's against all of what you just described, don't you understand? Can't you see this? Have you not read The Moral Landscape?
Yes, I'm sure that The Moral Landscape... Actually, you know what? It might actually explain all of this.
I think he needs like a volume 2 for Moral Landscape that's just all about, okay, we need like the dystheology of my moral system, and it's encapsulated in Trump, and it's just a book about how bad Trump is and how immoral he is.
Right. The Moral Landscape Volume 1 was about how you can extract an objective morality out of a materialistic universe. And then,
yeah, that's the theology, and then volume 2, the Trump volume, is the theodicy. Wherefore cometh evil? Well, right. It cometh from the mouth of Trump.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that is where he decides what evil is, and it's whatever Trump is. Orange Man, not just bad. Orange Man, devil. All right, let's keep listening.
Yeah,
right. Now that doesn't answer the people who say it's still completely unfair to not have looked at the laptop in a timely way and to have shut down the New York Post's Twitter account like that. That's just a conspiracy. That's a left-wing conspiracy to deny the presidency to Donald Trump. Absolutely, it was. Absolutely, right. But I think it was warranted, right? And
absolutely, that was a left-wing conspiracy. But you know what? It was the good kind because it was left-wing.
Here's the thing. Look. Did the media specifically ban any story about the Hunter Biden laptop from Twitter. Were there polls that came out that said that if people had known about the Hunter Biden laptop, it would have influenced their decision, and that was actually potentially enough to sway the election in favor of Donald Trump? Yes, that's all true. But here's the thing: it was warranted because, dude, Trump bad. Dude, come on, I'm Sam Harris. Do you guys not understand that Trump bad?
Well, yeah, don't you realize that Sam Harris knows all about objective morality. He literally wrote a book on it. It's like, if anyone can tell us in objective terms what morality is and isn't, it's got to be Sam Harris. Like, he wrote a book and he has a PhD after his name. Isn't that enough for you?
He is. God damn it, he's wise. Okay, let's keep going.
And again, it's a coin toss as to whether or not
Sam, I'm sorry.
that particular piece.
I'm really sorry. I was the one that said we should move on, but you've just
Go,
said something I really struggle with there, which is
he should have moved on.
The kids in the basement.
He should have.
No. Fuck the kids in the basement. I'm interested in democracy.
Don't. By the way, don't fuck the kids in the basement.
Kids in the
Please
basement.
do
That's
not.
the last thing you should do.
Just don't fuck the kids in the basement. Please don't.
If you ever feel like you want to fuck kids in a basement, you just sit and just don't.
Just
don't do that.
Just say no. It's like how you say no to drugs. Don't just say no to that.
Just say no to
You're
child
saying
sex in
you're-
the basement.
Or content with a left-wing conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically re-elected as president.
Well, no, I'm content. Well, but the thing is, it's just not left wing, right? So Liz Cheney is not left wing, right? Liz Cheney is doing everything.
To be fair, I don't think that Liz Cheney has a wing. The only thing that she is concerned with is her own political future. I just want to point that out.
She doesn't have a wing anymore these days.
That's true as well.
But
conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically elected.
But there's nothing conspiracy. It's not. It was a conspiracy out in the open. But it doesn't matter if it was. It doesn't matter what part's conspiracy, what part's out in the open. I mean, I think it's like if people get together and talk about what should we do about this phenomenon. You know, if it's like if there was an asteroid hurtling toward Earth, and we got in a room together with all of our friends and had a conversation about what we could do to deflect its course, right? Is that a conspiracy?
Okay, so this is where I believe that Sam Harris he said an oopsie. He said yes, it was a conspiracy of the Democrats to try to hide the Hunter Biden laptop, and now he's trying to compare that conspiracy to a theoretical conspiracy where people get together and try to write out an asteroid.
Well, technically, you see, both of those things would fit the definition of a conspiracy theory. Because, you know, like Independence Day, when all the governments and private and public institutions get together, they are conspiring to impede the asteroid from colliding with the Earth, you see. So that would technically be a conspiracy.
That's a lot of good technicallys.
Well, you see, technically, objective morality exists, and I can tell you what it is. You need to buy my book. Technically.
Technically, a tomato is a fruit, but you don't put it in a fruit salad.
If you get the special edition of my book, as you look in the afterword, it literally defines immorality, and it just says Donald J. Trump. So,
dude, I cannot wait to buy his volume 2 of the moral landscape. That's gonna be fucking dope. All right.
You know, like some of that conversation would be in public, some of it would be in private. We have a massive problem. We have an existential threat, right? Politically speaking, I consider Trump an existential threat to our democracy. Right now, he's not going to destroy the world. Very likely,
this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Protecting democracy.
No, but that doesn't destroy. No, I'm not. What I'm not suggesting. At no point was I suggesting we should stuff ballots or actually break the machinery of democracy. But
no, he's just saying that
Like, if that were to happen, that I certainly wouldn't recommend that happen. But if that were to happen, purely hypothetically, in hindsight, I would probably look at that and be like, it's technically a good thing that happened because of how evil Trump is.
No. I mean, look. He's not advocating for the stuffing of ballots or any sort of I guess election fortification. He's not advocating for any of that. He's just saying that it is acceptable for one of the political parties to collude and be completely in cahoots with the mainstream media in order to make sure that they maintain their power structure, right? That's totally chill. That's like, dude, that was in the Constitution. That's what the Founding Fathers wanted for America. They were like, look, the Fourth Estate should team up with one of the political parties, George Washington, famously in favor of political parties and the Fourth Estate. They should team up, have a very incestuous relationship with one another, just brother-sister fucking all the time. And, that's what you call American democracy. Fuck yeah, let's go. Dude, Sam Harris, based.
You know what? I'll also put it like this, and this will put a bit finer point on it. I'm not saying, I'm not suggesting that Joe Biden be forcibly removed from office and arrested, tried, and duly convicted of crimes against humanity and then sentenced to life in prison. But if that were to happen and if the media were somehow involved with it, I would look back in hindsight and think I'm not entirely against that, technically, but I'm not suggesting that should happen,
No, certainly not, no.
Political opinion is already being just completely inundated with misinformation, biased takes, half truths, and outright lies, right? Or just the amplification of bad or misleading information based on the algorithm, right? So it's already just an abattoir of opinion, right? And now the question is, what can you do with your own biases and your own to get the outcome you think is actually better, not just for yourself personally, but for the world, right? So I have
what the fuck? What is it that
it's
you
a
can
slaughterhouse of politics. It's a slaughterhouse of opinions.
Look, it's not about it's just, what can you do to get the outcome that you think is best?
See, when he used a really fancy word for slaughterhouse, that lets you know that he's super serial.
You know what? Here's the thing that I would think to use to get the outcome that I think is best. I would just vote in a relatively fair election. I think in a republic. I think we live in a republic, and so as long as we live in a republic, I think that I would just try to vote for the guy that I think is best. That's what I would do. I think that Sam Harris is willing to go above and beyond. He's saying, yeah, you know what? Maybe voting isn't enough. Maybe we need to get the media in there to propagandize millions of Americans into voting the way that I want them to. Maybe that's the best solution.
Well, as long as that propaganda doesn't involve releasing Hunter Biden's laptops with photographs of dead children, potentially in his very own basement. As long as that's not the propaganda that the public is seeing from the media, technically, I'm not suggesting that should be how the media acts. You see, but if that were to happen, I would be very upset. In contrast with Trump, you see, it's like I would not be at all upset that happened, that a fake story involving hookers pissing on Obama's beds. I was not the least bit upset about that. As a matter of fact, I carried a bit of water for that story on my podcast a few years ago.
Sam Harris, he believes in objective morality, and I guess not really in any sort of objective.
This is like
ethics.
This is peak fucking pill pull. This is peak lawyer talk. This is like, don't commit to anything on like a committal legal basis call to action form. Just say, like, hypothetically, I know it's the Sabbath, but hypothetically, if that light switch were to somehow be turned on, I'm not saying that you should go over there and turn that light switch on, Goy. But if that light switch were turned on, it would sure make my day much brighter.
I don't think that Sam Harris is Jewish.
Ethnically yes, religiously no.
Wait, is he? I thought he was like.
Let's not open that can of worms. I was just kind of trying to make a bit of a funny, but yes, he is technically Jewish.
I had no idea. I thought he was like a. Huh. I guess you learned. I thought he was like a like British ethnicity or something. I guess you learn something new every day.
It's just kind of funny how it's just like it's a Jew talking.
Nah, we're not going to open that can of worms. You're right. You're absolutely
right.
I just learned something new.
Hypothetically, we're definitely not going to open that worms. But if it were opened, I don't know if I would be entirely against it. But I'm not committing to anything. You see, this is just all opinion, don't you know?
Okay, well, I want to... Okay, all right. Now I feel like I have to say that I do not care about the ethnicity of Sam Harris. My position here is that when it comes to any particular ethnicity people, I don't care what they are, and I believe, Breaker, neither do you. We are ethnicity independent.
Basically, I'm kind of hyperbolizing this to really press the point home. It's just like the amount of shit you can technically get away with if you talk in that manner that he's describing this is mind-boggling. And there's some shit that you could say while still talking in that manner that certain people, YouTube critics, would call out very quickly, even though you were couching in that language. So, this is a way of saying through this hyperbolic comedy, what goes around comes around, motherfucker.
Exactly, man. Exactly. This is, what?
Smiling face.
This is my face right now, and also all of the time.
Technically, if that news story I reported on yesterday wasn't entirely factual and accurate and was kind of just rushed to the printing press, if that were to happen, of course I would be against that level of impropriety in journalism, but I would still stand up on CNN and put this smile on my face and talk about it as though it were entirely non-fake, totally honest and thoroughly researched news, don't you see?
God, that's just such a beautiful face. You look at that face and you think, God, that's a lion of a man, I'll tell you what.
But anyway, back to the crucifixion of Sam Harris.
Well, I think for now, maybe that's enough of Sam Harris. Every time I listen to him, it makes me a little bit upset, and I might be getting a little bit too upset. So we'll go into the final story of the evening. This is from it's from timcast.com. I don't want to. I'm not trying to shill Timcast. I know that Tim Pool is kind of a meme, that he wears the beanie, but he's actually bald. But also he's always calling for civil war. But look, I mean, honestly, I like the guy, and sometimes his news team produces some interesting articles. So here it is. A Minneapolis teachers union contract specifies that white teachers must be fired before educators of color, if the Minneapolis public schools need to cut staff. So that's an interesting little bit there.
I wonder what could be the motivation behind this. If the motivation were behind this were somehow guided by some type of bias against a specific demographic of people's immutable characteristics, if that was the motivation behind this, not saying that it is, but hypothetically, I would totally be against that, you see. But, is actually manifest into observable reality, I mean, I can't say with any degree of certainty if that's actually what's happening. So I'm just going to remain pleasantly neutral on this subject, you see, because, what do we know? All I know is that morality is objective, and I know that Donald Trump is a douchebag, so somehow that makes this correct.
You know what? That's a perfect circle of logic that you've just constructed there. And so I also must support it. It's
gonna be a meme. That's gonna be every time we do. That's gonna be like the Sam Harris meme.
So this, I saw this. I was like, that's kind of fucking insane. Now I believe that there's like some sort of 1964 or something Civil Rights Act or something. I think we passed it in America like 50 years ago or whatever. And if my sources are correct, it said that you're not allowed to discriminate people based off of race or gender or anything in the work environment, and especially not when you're looking at a teachers union that is directly connected to, let's say, something like the federal government. And so I would think that this actually doesn't make any sense. Why is it that the contract would be able to specify race whatsoever? That seems as though it would be in direct conflict with the 1964 Civil Rights Act. But I guess it's okay. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it, guys.
Yeah, it's totally. Well, you see, the thing. The moral motivations that using Sam Harris's moral landscape to analyze this a bit, the moral implications of the Civil Rights Act was basically to stop white supremacist racists. So that's like the spirit of the law was to end white supremacy specifically. So, if it superficially appears as though that standard is not being applied, when I'm not saying that it is applying in this case to these white peoples, but if you attempted to apply that to these white people, I think that would be like morally improper to do, given the original spirit of the law. So yeah, I don't think it should apply to white people.
No, that makes sense because as we know, look, if you're in a position where you can redefine language, then you don't even need to change the laws. You just need to change the words that are in the laws. So, look, racism, if racism just meant, like, discrimination against another person based off of their race or ethnicity, then, that's one way that you could define it, whatever. But, here's a new way that you can define racism. It's discrimination against anyone who is not a white. In that case, well, that's a powerful new definition. You can use that new definition to do a lot of cool stuff. So I think that's what's happened here, which is like totally dope, totally rad. So here's the quote: "It can be a national model, and schools in other states are looking to emulate what we did," said Edward Barlow, a band teacher at Ann Wotton Middle School and a member of the MFT executive board. Even though it doesn't do everything we wanted it to do, it's still a huge move forward for the retention of teachers of color. Okay, I'm sorry. This is a bill that says that if anyone gets fired, it has to be the whitey first. And the guy goes, even though it doesn't do everything that we wanted it to do. What else did he want it to do? I'm really curious.
I have to wonder. It's like, what is? Yeah, it's almost as though this is like strangely hyper specific in its manifestation. When you get into the finer points, it just kind of floats away into these mysterious vagaries. It's like, I couldn't tell you exactly what the overarching consequences of this would be in a more grand ethical sense, in a more narrative sense, and how this would permeate the socio-political zeitgeist when articulating this particular thing in this way. But if it were to somehow lead to some type of discrimination, I would be against that discrimination. But if it were to do that, I might not be entirely disappointed that it achieved that.
This is just absolutely brilliant. Look. I am by no means any sort of a racial supremacist for any group of people. I myself, I'm a libertarian. I believe that it's up to everyone to try to make their way in the world by whatever means that they want to do that. So look, if there's a teacher who's like really fucking good, then I think that they should stay on the payroll because they're really fucking good. Maybe like every single student that comes into their class, they get a fucking 90 or above on every single one of their SOL tests, right? I don't care what the race of that teacher is. I don't give a shit. If it's a good teacher, you should probably keep them on the payroll. Meanwhile, if it's a shit teacher and every single one of their fucking students gets below a 60% on their SOL test, then that teacher's probably shit and they should be fired. Right? I mean, that just makes sense. So I don't understand how it is that it benefits the education of children to make this a race-based thing, right? Because you could imagine that, I don't know, maybe there's a whole bunch of shit white teachers. Who knows, right? There's white people, they suck as teachers. But what if there's like a really fucking stellar teacher who happens to be white? Why would you get rid of them before, like, let's say that there's a person of color teacher who's just absolute shit, like all of her students are failing, and you're telling me that the prerogative of this teachers union is you get rid of the really fucking high quality white teacher before you get rid of the very low quality person of color teacher, right? Like that's insane. No, you get rid of them by their merit. Right? That would make sense. If a teacher is just doing a shit job, that's the first person that you get rid of. You don't make it based off of race. This is insanity. There's a good reason why you don't do this shit based off of race. It's because it doesn't work. It's because there is a lot of diversity within all the races, and there's shit teachers in every racial demographic. You would expect that because, in general, humans tend to be kind of shit. Some are good, most are shit. That's humanity. But you don't do any of this fucking racial bullshit. It makes no goddamn sense. This is this is insane. This is insanity. We should not have this in the United States. It's literally called the fucking Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is outlawed. I don't know why this actually is even allowed to exist. This is insanity.
Well, you see, your outdated notions of meritocracy, General Chief, you suffer from the phenomenon known as toxic whiteness, you see, because meritocracy, the very concept of meritocracy exemplifies toxic whiteness. Because, not all cultures, races, and peoples hold themselves to the same standards or learn in similar fashions between one another. There's a lot of diversity and divergence. So, expecting them all to hold to this racial supremacist white standard called meritocracy and your dog whistle for white supremacy, well, that's just racism.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're right, Breaker. I need to reconsider my positions here. You see, if you're not being the right kind of racist, you're being racist.
You know what? They probably would find a way to disagree with you, but that's strangely correct.
All right. Well, with that, I think this has been a fun show. We'll be continuing after this with an after show where we will be talking about some shit about evolutionary theory. If you're a listener of the show, then you probably have an idea of what we'll be getting into. But yeah, we'll be getting into that in the after show. So look out for that. It'll probably come out a day after this is published. But yeah, with that, thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, we would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. It helps us out immensely. And if you like the content that we're making, then yeah, please do so. And with that, Breaker.
I'm not saying that in addition to liking and subscribing that you should also click the bell icon. I'm not suggesting that you do that. But, if you were to completely by your own volition without me telling you explicitly to do it, I would not be disappointed.
All right. Peace out, everyone.